Imagine advanced flying machines soaring through ancient skies, long before modern aviation. Were these Vimanas powerful aircraft described in ancient texts, or merely elaborate myths? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about history and technology. Have you ever looked at ancient texts and wondered if our ancestors knew more than we give them credit for? What if they had technology that rivaled, or even surpassed, our own? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and controversial topics from ancient India. Are these the world's first airplanes, described in texts thousands of years old? Or are they simply beautiful, powerful metaphors from a rich mythology? Let's find out together. Our journey begins with ancient Sanskrit epics, like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. These texts, which form the bedrock of Hindu culture, are filled with epic battles, divine ebangs, and incredible stories. And within these stories, we find detailed descriptions of flying chariots or palaces, called Vimana. The Ramayana, for instance, describes the Pushpaka, a massive flying chariot that originally belonged to Kubera, the god of wealth, but was later used by the antagonist Ravina. It was said to be capable of traveling vast distances at the speed of thought, decorated with gold and jewels, and able to hold an entire palace. Imagine a craft that could move wherever its pilot desired. A personal, luxurious airship from an age we consider primitive. It's a mind-boggling image, isn't it? The Mahabharata also features numerous references to these flying machines, often used by gods and heroes in spectacular aerial battles. Descriptions paint pictures of celestial vehicles soaring through the clouds, armed with divine weapons, engaging in dogfights that sound eerily similar to modern aerial combat. These aren't just vague mentions of flying things. The texts often describe their appearance like shining suns, others like brilliant clouds in the sky, moving with the roar of a lion or the rumble of thunder. It has this level of detail that has led many to question if these were just poetic flights of fancy. Could they be eyewitness accounts of real technology, passed down through generations as epitaphes? This is the core of the ancient astronaut theory when it comes to India, the idea that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in the distant past and shared their technology, which was then recorded in these sacred texts. The debate really heats up when we look beyond the epics to a text called the Vimanika Shastra. This manuscript, supposedly channeled by a psychic in the early 20th century from a much older, lost work by the sage Bharadwaja, is essentially a technical manual for building and flying Vimanas. It's incredibly detailed, discussing everything from the pilot's training and diet to the specific metals and materials needed to construct different types of aircraft. The text describes 4 main types of Vimanas: the Shakuna, Sundara Rukma, and Tripura Vina. It details their construction, propulsion systems supposedly using mercury vortex engines, and even their military capabilities, like emitting blinding rays or releasing toxic gases. On the surface, this sounds like the ultimate proof. A smoking gun that ancient India had aeronautical technology. Proponents of the ancient flying machine theory point to the Vimānika Shastra as undeniable evidence. They argue that the descriptions of mercury engines and alloys are too specific to be mere fantasy. They ask, how could someone from a pre-industrial era invent such complex concepts without a real-world basis? Some even connect these texts to archaeological findings, like the strange, vitrified ruins of ancient cities, suggesting they were destroyed by weapons just like those described being fired from Vietnam. It's a compelling narrative that paints a picture of a lost, technologically advanced golden age. However, when we apply the lens of modern science and academic scrutiny, the picture becomes much more complicated. In the 1970s, a team of aeronautical and mechanical engineers at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore conducted a thorough study of the Vimānika Shastra. Their conclusion was damning. They found the designs described in the text to be completely unaerodynamic and unfeasible. The proposed propulsion systems, particularly the mercury vortex engines, defied the known laws of physics. The materials and processes described were vague and often nonsensical from an engineering perspective. The researchers concluded that the Vimānika Shastra was not an ancient text at all, but a modern creation, likely from the early 20th century, that was trying to imagine ancient technology through a contemporary lens. The language and concepts used didn't align with authentic ancient Sanskrit texts, but rather with the language of the early 1900s. So, if the Vimānika Shastra is likely a modern hoax, what about the Vimanas in the original epics, like the Ramayana and Mahabharata? This is where we step into the world of mythology and symbolism. Mainstream historians and scholars of religion argue that Vimanas are powerful metaphors, not literal machines. In ancient cultures worldwide, the sky was the realm of the gods. Flying, therefore, was a symbol of divinity, power, and spiritual transcendence. A god or a great king flying in a magnificent Vimana was unnecessarily a pilot in a machine. It was a visual representation of their divine status and their ability to move between the earthly and celestial realms. Think about it. These texts are deeply spiritual and philosophical. The Pushpaka Vimana, which travels at the speed of thought, could be a metaphor for the power of the mind or meditation to transport one to different states of consciousness. The epic aerial battles could symbolize the internal struggle between good and evil, dharma and adharma, playing out on a grand cosmic scale. In Tisbu, trying to interpret a Vimana as a literal airplane is like trying to find the engineering blueprints for Icarus' S-wings. It misses the entire point of the story, which is a cautionary tale about hubris, not a lesson in aeronautics. These stories were meant to inspire OTs, moral lessons, and explain the nature of the cosmos through powerful, memorable imagery. So, where does that leave us? On one hand, we have the tantalizing, exciting idea of a lost chapter of human history, a time of incredible technological achievement that has been forgotten. It's a story that sparks the imagination and challenges our assumptions about the past. The detailed descriptions in ancient texts are hard to simply dismiss, and they fuel a sense of wonder that is undeniably powerful. On the other hand, we have the rigorous, evidence-based approach of science and historical analysis, which suggests these stories are symbolic, not technical. The debunking of the Vimānika Shastra and the understanding of mythological language point towards a metaphorical interpretation. Ultimately, the story of the Vimana is a perfect example of the tension between myth and history, faith and science. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Maybe ancient people witnessed the strange celestial phenomenon, a meteor shower, for instance, and described it in the most advanced terms they could imagine. A divine flying vehicle. Or perhaps the stories are purely products of the incredible human imagination, a testament to our species' ability to dream of flying long before we ever built the tools to do so. What do you think? Were Vimanas advanced ancient aircraft, left by gods or a lost civilization? Or are they profound symbols from a rich mythological tradition, meant to teach us about divinity and the human spirit? The debate itself is what keeps the mystery alive, prompting us to look back at the past with fresh eyes and an open mind. It reminds us that ancient texts are not just dusty old books. They are vibrant, complex worlds of meaning that continue to challenge and inspire us today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the skies of ancient India. If you enjoyed this exploration, please hit that like button. And do you forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into history. Greatest mysteries. Let me know your theories about the Vimanas in the comments below. I can't wait to read what you think. Until next time, stay curious.